What's going on, everyone? It's Corey here from the Breakevens, giving you another Super Coach podcast / video today. We're almost at the end, 2 rounds to go. I'm pretty sure Super Coach runs into round 24. So 2 weeks left to Super Coach, and what a crazy week it has been. A lot of injuries. If you haven't caught up with the news, we know Charlie Curnow is out for 1 to 2 weeks. We know Harry Mackay is out for 1 to 2 weeks. We know Tim English is out this week. Harry Sheezel is a test. And that's just to name a few. So a little bit of carnage that we're going to have to try and get through. I saw a few people on Twitter, one of them being Tim Mitchell, who says if Sheezel doesn't play, he's got 19 plays this week, which is rough. I haven't even checked my side yet, so I don't know how bad I'm going to be, but yeah, I'm going to need a few ins because I had a donut last week. So before we get into the podcast, though, I'd like to announce that on Friday and Saturday nights, there will be 2 FPL videos dropping. The first one will be just quickly going over everything that happened in pre-season for the FPL. And then the Saturday night will be my final draft bar any late changes. So really excited about getting those out. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel just down below. And follow me on Twitter /X at BreakeVensPod, or on Facebook, the Breakevens Facebook page. You'll see our logo there. So all the finalized drafts will be posted on Twitter and Facebook. But I'll also have the video, and I'll go through that a little bit later. But quickly and lastly on FPL, if you want to join the Breakevens FPL League, the code is NP6AXL. Again, NP6AXL. If you have not joined, make sure you do. All right, that's all said and done. So let's get into how my Super Coach went last week, and then we will go through the captains as well. All right, as you can see, 2,496. I'm pretty happy with that because I did have a donut. So that was only with 21 players playing. Pretty happy. First green arrow in about 3 weeks. There's only 401 ranks though, which is a little bit painful, but hey, 2,496, I'll take it. One thing that I have and will regret for the rest of this season was in round 4 or 5. I got rid of Brody Grundy, and I brought in Tim English instead of Tristan Cherry, who is absolutely dominating. So that is one thing that has hurt me, because if I had him in my side, he would have definitely been vice captain and I would have scored more. But it is what it is. But 2,496, as I said, with a donut, I'm pretty happy with. So let's get into how I lined up and possible VC and Cs. So this is how it went. So Harry Sheezel VC 122. It was a very awkward score, and I decided to risk it on Bont, which we can see didn't quite work out. But 122, I was happy with. Sheezel is a test. Sore ankle, got test done. He's been cleared of any damage. It's just, can he get up for the game? Jerry McGovern 155, absolutely went nuts. Love that. Nick Dacos, a 66, is a little bit disappointing. But one bad game is one bad game. Hopefully he bounces back this week. Luke Ryan 156 as well. I actually had the VC on Luke Ryan, but changed to Sheezel, which did hurt a little bit because 156 obviously is 34 points better. So, yeah, look, you live and die by the choices you make. So Nick Martin 130 was very good, and Max Holmes 104 bounced back. And obviously no bench players. Bond 119 had a pretty quiet last quarter. Was really banking on a 130 plus. I thought he had the matchup for it. Didn't quite happen, but it is what it is. 119 is still decent. And only 3 points off my VC anyway. So Zach Butters 131 though was good. Zachy Merritt 145, happy. Tom Green 119. GWS are back, and he's turned his form around. Errol Gordon 80 against Collingwood. I feel like he should have done a lot better there. Josh Dunkley 105, Rosie 104, and a disappointing from Sammy Walsh with 89. But looks like the Hawks absolutely dominated that game. Max Gorn 177. He posted a photo earlier in last week of his ankle bruised. It's the same with Bont and Gorn. If they post that they've got an injury, you just put a VC or a C on them. English 85, and he's out for this week. Sore ankle, disappointing. That's going to hurt. Sam Flanders 93. I think is that 2 weeks in a row where he's gone sub 100. But everyone has him, so it's okay. Dane Zorko 117. I was happy with. Jai Caldwell had an absolute singer 55. I didn't check his heat map, so I'm not sure if he had a role change or just a quiet one. Isaac Heaney 144 did very well. Luke Jackson 81, and there was no Sean Darcy, so that is very disappointing. And as you can see, McMullen didn't play, Dowling didn't play, and Fisher didn't play. So that's my donut. So we'll quickly look over at the fixtures here on the right-hand side. Essendon versus Sydney. So I have Martin, Merritt, Heaney, and Goulden. Do I want to put a VC in it? In any of those guys? Probably not. GWS versus Freo. You could look at a Tom Green or a Luke Ryan. Well, that's what I'm looking at anyway. Gold Coast versus Melbourne. Max Gorn could be a shout here. Sam Flanders, definitely a big shout. Collingwood versus Brisbane. I can see Lockie Neal and Josh Dunkley, one of those guys, going absolutely ballistic. Potentially Dane Zorko as well. They could all get up. I have a feeling Brisbane are going to smash Collingwood, so they could just get on top there. Port versus Adelaide. It's always a tough matchup, so your Butters Rosie's looking good. St Kilda Geelong. Those who Rowan Marshall could target that 100%. We'll have to look at DFS in a second on any of the other positions, but I like Marshall in that one. Bulldogs versus North. You could be looking at your Bonds, but who I really like with Tim English out is Tristan Cherry. I feel like he could go absolutely bonkers. Hawks and Richmond. If you have a Will Day, potentially a Toby Nankervis, maybe. We'll have to look at DFS there. And West Coast versus Carlton. I think it's going to be a closer game than expected. Obviously, you have Walsh, Cripps, but someone who I do like as a pod is Nick Newman with Adam Sard out for 1 to 2 weeks with a hamstring. He will be on all kickouts or 90% of the kickouts, and will be the main distributor off halfback. So it could be good there. But speaking of DFS, let's get it up and go through all the matchups. All right, up first we have Essendon versus Sydney. So let's look at the Bombers. Key forwards, inside mids, attacking defenders slash wingers. It's looking good, which means against Essendon, you're probably looking at Goulden, who plays inside mid, but also that attacking defender. could be a great VC option. And on the other hand, Isaac Heaney. But they've been pretty restrictive everywhere else. So no one's really got a key forward from Sydney anyway. So now against Sydney, key forwards not really looking at. Inside mids, your Martins and Caldwells, tough one. The Rucks +8 against Grundy, who's a little bit of an injury cloud. I'm pretty sure Longmire said he should be good to go. He'll be managed throughout the week, but should be good to go. So and then pretty restrictive everywhere else. So I think you're going for a Goulden or a Heaney in that first matchup. Next up, it's the Suns versus the D's. So let's look at Melbourne first, inside mids. So your Matt Rouse, your Noah Anderson's going to do well there. Don't really have a ruck, attacking defenders and designated kickers +4. So your Sam Flanders is looking like a good one there, especially at home. I believe. Yep, People First Stadium in Gold Coast. So I actually like Flanders in this game over your Rouse and your Andersons there. So Sam Flanders, I think, is a good one. But you also have Gold Coast. So looking at rucks +2.91. So Max Gawn is a decent one there. Designated kickers, general defenders. I mean, if Stephen May's back, he'll be good for draft leagues, but don't really have anyone there. And possibly a Trent Rivers if you have him, or a Christian Salem if you're stuck with him, could be decent there if Salem is playing. But I do like Flanders in that matchup. Next, it's the Giants versus Freo. So let's look at Freo here. +1 for inside mid. So Tom Green could do well. +10 for rucks. Kieran Briggs, I think, should be back there. No one really has him. Wing defenders +1.28. So Whitfield could do decent in this, but +1. It'll just depend on the day how many kickouts he actually takes. I think that will depend on his score. We move to GWS, general forwards. No, not good for rucks, not good anywhere. So I think, your Tom Greens or Lockie Whitfields would be the only option there. Obviously, your Sarongs, your Luke Ryans, known big scorers. They can score whenever. So they are still options, just going off this table. Might be a bit of a harder matchup. The Pies versus the Lions, and a 4:35 game for the rematch last year. Yeah, that's pretty crap, especially because you got St Kilda and Geelong that night. So that's pretty crap. But look here, against the Lions, main one here is inside mid. So Dacos, they're not going to tag him. Could get off the leash, but a 50-50 matchup. And a tough one for Darcy Cameron owners. Apart from that, you don't really have any other Collingwood assets. But against Collingwood is where it gets big. We don't really have forwards. So the inside mids for Brisbane, so your Dunkleys, your Neils could go absolutely massive. Designated kickers +12 as well. So that's what I was talking about, Zorko, and even those attacking defenders slightly above. So could have a great VC or C on any of those three who have gone big in the past. Those would be my options in that game. Port versus Adelaide. So we look at Adelaide inside mids +0.16. So not a huge increase there. But, one of Butters or Rosie are going to go big. It's just choosing the right one. And against Port Adelaide, your rucks. So Riley O'Brien absolutely smashed English last week. So if anyone has him, you could put one on there, but probably not looking at an option in this game. And Saints versus Geelong. So look at Geelong first, your ruck. So plus 16.41. That's what I was talking about with Rowan Marshall. Could go absolutely huge. Your attacking defenders and designated kickers, though, is looking pretty good. So your Jack Sinclair's, your Naziah Wanganeen Miller's, and for my draft league, I got Cal Wilkie. So that's a good one there. So you could definitely target those St Kilda players this week, 100%. I'd be going any of them, but obviously it looks like Marshall has the easiest matchup. Next, we've got the Doggies versus North. So we'll go to North. Key forwards, you don't really have. So inside mids, negative 2.39. So North have been pretty restrictive. But Bond, Trelaw, Libba, one of those guys are going to go big. Rucks against North, negative 5.66, but English is out anyway. And apart from that, North have been pretty restrictive. It's just the forward line, they just kick goals. So that's what it really comes down to there. And we look at the Dogs, negative 7.51 for inside mids. So if Sheasel does play, that's looking rough. But what is looking okay is those designated kickers at +7 and those attacking wingers slash defenders. So for North, you got McKercher. If Fisher's back, could be a good one. And maybe if Sheasel's a bit sore and they still want to play him, they might play him off the halfback. So I'd definitely keep an eye out on the news around Sheasel, because if Clarkson comes out and says, yeah, he'll play off the halfback, I actually like that a lot. Even if he is injured, it can just rack him up, because the Doggies can be pretty sporadic with their goal kicking. So just keep an eye on that there. Hawks versus the Tigers. So we look at Hawthorn, your rucks. So those with Toby Nankervis, you're looking there. But apart from that, no, you don't really have Richmond players, do you? So we move over here to Richmond. So Hawthorn inside mids +4. So that's your Will Days, your Jai Newcombs. +12 on the ruck. So Lloyd Meek is a great selection in this game. And those attacking defenders and general defenders. So James Sicily is a big chance here for that captain armband. And I don't think we really have any other popular Hawthorn defenders. But if you have D'Ambrosio, he could have a massive spike game. He's been pretty consistent this year, so that could be one if you wanted to go uber pod. And the last game is West Coast versus Carlton. So look at Carlton here. Do we have any West Coast players? If you did, your forward line looks good. Inside mids, tough against, yeah, probably not going any West Coast assets. But the Carlton guys, key forwards, it's a shame that they're both out, Kerno and Harry Mackay. But inside mids +7.9. So your Cripps, your Walsh could do really well there. Rucks, if Tom DeConnin is playing and is the only ruck, you could go big there. But apart from that, it's looking rough for Nick Newman, negative 1.64. But if West Coast are inaccurate, he's taking kick outs because Sard's out. So I still think he's an uber pod. So I don't mind that. But obviously, your Cripps and Walsh look a bit safer. So that's how it looks. So what am I going to do? I'm not liking the first game. I could go a Flanders or a Gawn as vice captain. Tom Green, Luke Ryan, potentially. Where's GWS? Tough one. I think what I'm looking to do, especially early on, I think I'm going to look at Zorko um, into Bont. I think that's my safest bet here. Um, I could also do Flanders or Gorn. So I think those are my options. Um, Now, obviously, English is out, so I could have a donut, which is not great. But if Fisher's back and a Dowling or McMullen are back, I have cover because I can just swap Jackson with Livingston, and then Jackson will go on the field for English, and then Fisher and Dowling would come on for Livingston, and if McMullen's not playing. So, worst comes to worst, I have 20 players, I think. Six, four is 10, 12, and then eight is 20. So that's worst comes to worst. Um, Will Dawson could also actually be back. So if Fisher's not back, I could swap him there. That could also be an option. But that's how I'm probably going to look at going into this week. So yeah, let's hope I can get another green arrow. And on that note, that's going to be the end of the podcast. So, um, hopefully, this captain stuff do help you. It's not super intense. I just look at DFS Australia, try and look for the best matchups for my team, and try and give you guys ideas on roughly how your players could line up each week. It seems to be working. Didn't super work last week. But I did roll the dice, so that is on me. But yep, that's going to do it for today. So don't forget FPL content coming Friday night and Saturday night. If you have not yet joined the Breakevens FPL league, it is NP6AXL. That is the code. It'll be in the description as well. So thank you all again for watching and listening. And don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, bye for now.